Welcome once again to my YouTube channel, Pearson and Excel International Maths by Mr. Kamoto. And let's explain example 14b of Pure Mathematics 1 on page 127. And again, we're still looking at the subtopic of transforming trigonometric graphs. And in part B, we are going to sketch the graph of y is equals to the cosine of theta minus 90 degrees in the same bracket. And we're going to have the range of negative 360 all the way to positive 360 degrees. And what we know is that we need to have the graph of the cosine of theta because this is what is going to be transformed. So generally, we should start from the graph of the cosine of theta, and let's have it here, minus 90, minus 180 degrees, minus 270 degrees, and of course, we talk of minus 360 degrees. To the right, we have 90 degrees, we have 180 degrees, we have 270 degrees, and we have 360 degrees. We know this is 1 and this is negative 1. And basically, when the cosine of 0 is 1, of course the cosine of 90 is 0, then we are talking of the cosine of 180, negative 1, the cosine of 270 to be 0, and the cosine of 360 to be 1. And of course we have 0 there, we have negative 1 there, we have 0 there, and we have positive 0 there. But let's do this for confirmation purposes so that we can, let's bring on the calculator for confirmation. Negative, the cosine of negative 360 degrees is 1, yes, that is true. And then the cosine of negative 270 degrees, yes, that is 0, and therefore that's where we are. So the graph of y is equals to cosine of theta happens to look like this. This is the graph of y is equals to the cosine of theta. Let us now concentrate on the transformation, and you realize this is addition inside. And according to Mayo, let's just have Mayo here. According to Mayo, the magic square of transformation minus a, 1 over a, and a, and Tasnim should visit Husseina. Addition inside means horizontal translation of negative a steps. This is addition inside. Let's just do it over here because we're going to construct the resulting graph there. This is going to be horizontal translation of negative a steps. Incidentally, our a happens to be minus 90. Our a happens to be minus 90. Our a is negative 90 degrees, so it's a horizontal translation of negative 90, which means 90 degrees. What does this mean? Horizontal translation of 90 degrees. What this means is that all x, values plus 90 degrees. All x values plus 90 degrees. What does this mean? That the graph pushes to the right 90 degrees. Therefore, if this is 0, this particular 0 pushes to the right 90 degrees, so that appears there. This is 0, that appears there. This is -1, that will now start plus 90, is going to be at 270. When x is 270, then 270 plus 90, the value of y are not going to be affected, but this is going to be plus 90, that means 360 degrees. The value of y are not going to be affected. When x is -90, -90 plus 90 is 0, so that particular value of y, which is 0, gets there. And when this one is negative 90, negative 180, negative 180, when the theta was negative 180, the cosine of negative 180 was -1. Now theta is not negative 180, is going to be negative 180 plus 90, which is -90, and the value of y doesn't change. Minus 270, it pushes 90 degrees. Of course, negative 360, it pushes 90 degrees there. And you can see what negative 360 minus 90 degrees, we're talking about the cosine of negative. So the cosine of answer is supposed to be 0, or rather the cosine of negative 450 degrees is supposed to be 0. So if you were to move this graph to the left, we are supposed to have minus 450 degrees, and the cosine is going to be 0. Now, minus 450 plus 90 is what we are going to realize to be negative 360, and the cosine being 0 won't change, so we will have that point shifting from this end to this particular point. So our new graph looks like that. You can see it's just the wave. The red graph is y is equals to the cosine of theta minus 90 degrees, the cosine of theta minus 90 degrees. And that is the transformation we are supposed to have plotted, and you can see it's going to be 90 degrees to the right. And that is exactly what has happened. The whole graph of the whole black graph, which was y is equals to the cosine of theta, shifts to the right 90 degrees, and it results to the red graph, which is cosine of theta minus 90 degrees. Of course, if you would want to explain this one in a vector kind of notation, it's going to be translated by 90, 0, 90 degrees. That is the vector. That means 90 degrees along the x-axis and 0 along the y-axis. And that is just like what you're supposed to have done. And there we are. Please follow again my YouTube channel, Pearson and Excel International Maths by Mr. Kamotho, and let us work together. Subscribe and we explain more maths together. All right.